Do you ever learn something interesting in an area that you're passionate about, or that's just super fascinating to you, that you just found out about, and you want to share that with somebody? Well, that is just what happened with me. We're going to talk about the future for... Forgot to unplug the car. I'm trying to drive away because I'm thinking about this video instead of paying attention to what the fuck I'm doing. You should definitely be paying attention to what you're doing, right? Now, let's get started. So, if this is your first time here, what's good? My name is Sam, and if you're here for a second time or more, thank you very much. It is good to frickin' see you. Should be subscribed and already be pressing the bell notification so that YouTube can notify you when I drop a new video. Now, what is all this about? I am listening to a podcast that I find fascinating while I'm doing some work on the computer. Clearly not focusing on the work on the computer because the podcast is super interesting. And the guy is called My First Million, for anybody who's curious. I find it's all about technology and founders of companies that have started businesses and telling their story. And if that stuff's interesting to you, like it is to me, you'd probably enjoy that podcast. Now, today, or this is an episode from a couple years ago, right? This makes it even more fascinating. This episode is from a couple years ago, where the podcast person who's doing the podcast and does the podcast is interviewing somebody who owns a company and started a company called Rev.com. And this story of the company is fascinating, as well as the founder's answers. He says a lot, which I definitely noticed, but so fascinating. This is from a couple years ago, and he's talking about what is something like that is going to really have a big impact on the world. Like, how can he go through and do that? And there's a tremendous amount of people who sit at home and don't work, right? Like moms or grandmas or just dads or other people. There's a lot of people who just sit at fucking home, right? And for various reasons. And those people don't always just want to sit at home. They want to have like the companionship, like to be part of something bigger, right? To like put in work every day because it's very meaningful, right? Well, and by the way, if I just said that work is meaningful and the first thought that came across your mind was that, fuck, not my case in my life, then you, sir or ma'am, need to do some fucking internal work, because you should take care of that shit and do something that you enjoy to do. It is far fucking better, or change your mindset about what you are currently doing. One of those two things, or start, with where you're currently doing it and decide if you want to get into something else. But that is beside the point. Now, in this podcast, the guy is trying to describe the thing that he wants to do to impact the world. And while he is doing this, he's describing a future where all those people that I just mentioned that sit at home, if they so choose to, can work, but not like Fiverr or Odesk, where you basically put your listing up there, and I have done this before, so I understand this, and hope that somebody contacts you to work with them. And basically what that means is that you put your shit on the internet and no work comes from it, right? On Fiverr or on Odesk. Right? You need to go in and figure out how to sell yourself. And there's a lot of people who don't want to do that, or just not very good at it, right? It doesn't sound like super fun to go sell themselves to a lot of people, right? But they still would like to contribute and be part of something bigger and have value to provide to the marketplace. Well, he went through and picked a specific niche related to, and I don't know if there's other ideas, I'm sure there is, where this could be successful, to build something as a network, right? Because what you have to do is think about like a network effect, and the value generated from a network effect is crazy. Like, look at Facebook, right? Look at there's been network effects for Google or any social network, and YouTube, and all these. There's just tremendous value in networks, and where you can capture the value that this part of society wants to provide, and it would be a greater net value win for society as a whole, right? Because these people want to provide value, and these companies want to hire people that are willing to provide value in this specific way, and it is translating text from audio, right, like this, or podcasts, right? They do podcasts, or even television, right? Like the Clown News Network and things like that, where they'll translate for them, and you basically submit your work and then it gets done, like extremely fast, way faster than anybody else in the other competitors do, because they have brought together all of that value, those people that are trying to provide value in this specific way, and built up an expertise in this area. So somebody submits work, it gets done immediately, versus several days or tons of hours for another company to do it. And I found this very interesting, because I was like, I love this idea, this is awesome. How can one create the same network type of effect, but provide value between those two areas where there's a need in the marketplace, but there's also a tremendous amount of stagnant labor that wants to provide value, right? That really wants to provide value. Oh, by the way, in regards to what I was just saying, the employees, so it solves that problem too. You know how I said that Fiverr or Odesk, you put your shit up there and then you just hope to get work? Okay, well, with Rev.com, right, his company, if you are basically through the process, which is relatively low barrier to entry, because it's transcribing, right? You have to do teeny little bit, but it's relatively simple, like Google or something, or like something that's just relatively, I'm sure it's way easier to get into than community college, right? And that's not fucking challenging to do, type of easy. So there's still going to be some people who can't fucking do it, but the marketplace is gigantic. So as I was like this, I was like, this is a great idea, bringing together this value over here that wants to be in the marketplace, that wants to be a part of something, with this other one in this unique connection related to transcribing audio. Because I think it has to be a niche of some sort, but they also talked about related to education, and I found that fascinating, because this podcast was in the past, right? I think it's the beginning of 2020 or 2019 or something when this episode was out, and he's talking about this, about working from home and taking advantage of that part of the workforce that wants to be part of the workforce but just stays at home, or prefers the lifestyle that's staying at home, right? Because if you work from home like I do, I mean, I don't know, some people probably don't like it, but I fucking love it. It is 3:30 in the afternoon and I'm on my way to the beach. I don't know, it's just awesome. Like, you get to do it when you want to do it, kind of thing. I definitely prefer this, and I think a lot of people would. So creating that between the two worlds around education is a very, very interesting idea, because I've seen that explosion happening, right? We all have seen the education system fail us. If the objective of the education system is to properly prepare people for some of the things that are most important to people in life, or at least has a lot of impact on people's mind, is money. And that's not taught in school. We've also seen the education system, well, let's take a better example. We've seen cell phones really go from one thing to another thing in a very short period of time, right? We've seen automobiles go from like the Model T to, I'm literally driving in the Tesla, but I'm not actually driving the Tesla. Like, the Tesla is driving itself as I drove down this road here, right? As I'm doing this video, right? So we went from the Model T to the Tesla, right? Which is like the cream of the crop. And a lot has changed. The technology, the experience wasn't like this in a Model T, where I could just sit here and feel very comfortable that the car is taking care of things for me, right? To a big degree, right? Like, I'm paying attention for any fucking clowns. Now, as I'm not paying attention to this, it's in stop and go traffic. So this is like one of the perfect times to use it, because then you don't have to do the stop and go traffic portion of it. And this is not a Tesla ad. I just think it's fucking awesome. So, the point is that there's been a tremendous amount of progress around the automobile and everything related to the automobile. If you look at the education system, sucks balls, right? Like, I was homeschooled. I have a completely different perspective than 99.9% of you fuckers who are watching this. Because most of you went to a school that didn't prepare you for anything in life. Period. Guarantee it. So, I think that is a very interesting idea, given how accurate that last bit was of what I just said. And we're seeing this play out in the marketplace. So I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, fuck, this is awesome. And I wanted to capture that in this moment. Now, if you think about that in a more narrow way, right? Because I was niching this down mentally. What if there was a market to create a network effect from taking advantage of the lack of education, evolution, and progress about what's actually impactful in people's lives, be around the individuals who are currently sitting in the sidelines or would just prefer this lifestyle, how I live, right? Or ones that are actually doing the job and they want more money or just a more experience, because not only does it afford you to live the lifestyle you want, but you can transcribe for specific types of educational content, motivational stuff. You can go in and work on brand new shit that other people have to pay for. Other people have to pay to get this information. And you are getting paid to get the information through transcribing it, right? I don't know how much of that you're pulling away, but it is something to know, right? I'm not doing it, so I can't comment on that. But it is an interesting thought experiment. How impactful it is, I don't know. We'd have to talk to more people or something. But I think it could definitely be. I think that you're bound to pick up some, right? Because just the nature of how the mind works. Even if it's a slow progress, or you're going to learn something through that process. Anyways, so what if creating the next network for this is around finances, and grabbing that portion of the population that has something to provide of value around us. And then what the other side would be, I'm not sure. But you can let me know what type of customers would be interested in those things. Well, probably like most of the fucking population, right? Who didn't actually learn about finances or running a business or opening a business or keeping track of how to actually do any of that together all in one. And there's a lot of people out there who know a lot of amazing things, who are super smart and so talented, and they don't want to do anything full time, but they already have their job in terms of like their business that they've created or whatever it is that they're doing. And they would love to share that with somebody else and get paid to do that, right? And all the people who just didn't have the education to do any of this stuff, those people would actually be the value they'd be bringing is cash into the system. Now, the interesting thing is how much value, how much like money could those people bring in, right? Where do you draw that? I want something to be very like high end, because I don't feel like I mean, like, look at free education. Doesn't get you much, does it? So I like to go for the higher end stuff, and because I want it to be stupid, like ridiculously valuable. But just an idea I thought of. And I wanted to take this time and try a new format of video here and see what you guys thought. So if you're still here now, let me know what you think of this style video. If you like it, if you didn't like it, why you didn't like it. If you thought it was interesting, if you want to see other videos like this, let me know. Also, if you'd like to support or help out, I have a Twitter bet, right? My buddy bet me that I cannot beat him on Twitter following by July 30th. So he's got 14,000 plus followers, and I'm at like 3,300. So if you want to help with that, that is the only way I would win. So check out the Twitter down below. Now, where I'm at. So I appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon.